just have fun. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of These Crazy Fools That Just Keep Eating Meat and Don't Stop Talking About It. Today, we're going to touch on what it's like to go on vacation and eat carnivore as you're traveling around, destinations perhaps unknown, sources unknown. We're going to tell you how we've managed to do it in the past. Justin just got back from beautiful Mount Shasta, and he did a little prep work before he left. So, Justin, you want to start us off there?
Yeah, so Mount Shasta, for those that don't know, is in Northern California. It's roughly 3 hours south of Oregon. So you have California, Oregon, and then Washington, and then Canada. Um, for those that are international or that may not know the lay of the United States nation of the Pacific Northwest. There we go. That's what I'm trying to talk about. So yeah, Mount Shasta, absolutely beautiful prep work. Yeah, so so we were gonna stay in a lodge, and there was no kitchenette. There wasn't gonna be like any way for me to directly cook. And we weren't camping because of COVID-19. The campgrounds were supposedly closed. But when we got there were tons of people camping all over the place. So we were like, well, what's up with that? Whatever. That's why we ended up getting the little lodge. And so I was like, well, I want to make sure I got food. So I actually cooked 6 pounds of ribeye and put them in containers and had a bunch of ice packs. And in like one of those, I didn't actually bring a cooler, but I brought because I was trying to pack light, you know what I mean? Because there are 4 of us going in one car, have to be mindful of what everyone else is bringing, so I got one of those like storage bags or, insulated bags and just filled that with ice packs and my steaks, and it did all right. Nothing went bad on the drive. It was like a 10-hour drive roughly there. So I had that, but then I also had my good friend Tom make me a nice, like 2 pounds of pemmican and like a quarter pound of beef jerky. So because it was Mount Shasta, I knew there could be a lot of like lakes and a lot of hiking. And, even as carnivores, I understand that we normally don't get hungry, but I've been, being pretty lazy with COVID-19. I haven't really been outdoors a lot over the last month or so. And so I was like, man, I'm going to be exerting a lot of energy. So, I might get more hungry than normal, or, you know, um, participate in a little bit of bored or just snacking around, because I'm being with other people that aren't carnivore. When they bring out the chips or the dip or, tortillas or something or nuts, that way I'm not tempted. That way, if we're sitting down and having a snack, I don't feel weird just sitting there and eating nothing. I can bust out a bar of pemmican and munch that down and offer it to them and stuff like that. So, yeah, that way I could still stay and be social with them even while they're snacking.
Did you get anybody to try the pemmican?
They said that they would, but they'd see me eat it, but they never jumped at it. I'd be like, oh, hey, do you want some? They'd be like, maybe later. So I don't know, they were kind of scared of it, I guess, but which is really funny because they were scared of that. But my diabetic friend went for the bag of Doritos and sour cream and onion chips and that stuff. He thought that was totally fine, but pemmican, that scared him. So it's just funny.
Well, it was, Father's Day just passed, and I went down to see my dad, and I had made him one of those wooden boards to hold the sharpening stone. We were talking about that, and then I was, asked what else I've been up to, and I said, oh, I just made a bunch of pemmican. And they're like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, I should have brought you some. And then so his wife's like, well, what's it made out of? I'm like, well, it's basically like dried pounded beef, that's, kind of suspended in rendered fat. She gives me the evil eye, like, we're never gonna try that. Now, my dad will, if I hand him a piece, he'll eat it in a heartbeat, not even ask what it is. But his wife was like, "No, not gonna happen." So I get it.
But what was she eating for dinner? You were out to dinner with them, or were you just hanging out at their house or
Yeah, we went
something?
out to eat, and of course, uh, this restaurant had just opened. It's near their house, that's why they go there. And they, it took probably like an hour and 20 minutes or so to get served, and then they had just ordered a Reuben, which is like pastrami with coleslaw and dressing
Sauerkraut.
on a sandwich. Do you have those down under Reuben sandwich?
Of course we do.
Of course we do. I don't know. Maybe you call it something else. Hey, real quick, Justin, when you have too many parking tickets and they put that big metal thing on your wheel of your car so you can't drive, what do you call that?
A boot.
Ah, see, Joe thinks that's a terrible idea calling it a boot. We had a little spat about that the other day. So.
We just call it a wheel clamp. It's
A wheel clamp. How creative. Just checking. I don't know. Maybe you have it's down there. A Reuben is called a Zumbo for all I know. I don't know.
Speaking of Mount Shasta, so for those that don't know, Mount Shasta is also like this kind of new agey, kind of hippie place. Like, my friend was telling me that the Lumerians live inside the mountain,
Of course.
and it's because when Atlantis got destroyed by God, they fled to the mountain in Shasta. So it's like it's supposed to be the crown chakra of the world. So it has it's super energetic and a lot of UFO sightings, and there's this rock where there's this door that looks like there's a giant alien hand on it and human hand. So it's a trippy place.
So the people of Atlantis, they lived on like a island or a small continent that was really awesome, and then it sinks or the water rises or something. So they go from living on an awesome island in the Atlantic Ocean to inside of a mountain. That was just like their go-to. It's like, well, let's give up life on the ocean and live inside a mountain.
So they became enlightened and they
Oh,
asked God to put their souls, their enlightened beings, these 12th dimensional beings inside the mountain.
is this like an L. Ron Hubbard version or something?
That's what they believe. And so there's tons of crystal shops. Like every other block has a crystal shop or an almond shop. And there's everyone's all into crystals. So veganism is big there. So kind of my point is that if you go around saying you're vegan, everyone's like, oh yeah, we totally have vegan options, gluten-free options, all this stuff. But if you walk around and say, oh, you're keto or carnivore, they have no idea what you're talking about, which I find really funny because they're considered to be that place, and people that live there, work there, are supposed to be on the cutting edge of health. That's why they live there and stuff is they're spiritual and they're tuned in, but they're behind in my opinion because they're still on the big vegans. You can get kombucha super easily at all the little markets and everything. For those that don't know what kombucha is, it's fermented. It's just a fermented drink. I don't know it's from. I don't think it's from wheat
tea.
though. It's a
fermented tea.
Yeah,
it's got vinegar in it.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be really good for gut health and stuff like that. So, and enlighten, it has enlightening flavors and it's supposed to raise your chakras and make you have a kundalini awakening and all that stuff. So there, everyone's all hardcore into that stuff. But keto or carnivore, they have no idea what you're talking about. So I actually went out to eat at one of the restaurants there because my friends wanted to go eat. And I was like, yeah, sure, cool. And I was like, can I just get, because they had a burger, which was cool. They had a burger. And I was like, hey, can I get a burger, but no sauce, and could I just get it, lettuce wrapped? And they're like, which is really funny. I've had this said to me a couple of different times, and maybe other carnivores can relate. They're like, oh, our lettuce isn't big enough to wrap the burger patties. And so I was like, okay, so like it's just gonna be patties on a bed of lettuce. Is that okay? And I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like I really don't care. If I can't hold the burger, I can knife and fork it, whatever. I'll still pick it up. I don't care. Um, and then she comes back. She's like, are you sure you wouldn't prefer a salad? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, we could just put like lettuce and tomato and cut up the burger patty and make it a salad instead. That way it's nicer. And you get like, more food or whatever. And I was like, whatever's easier for you. Like I really didn't care. But I just thought that was really funny that they tried to turn my burger patties and cheese into a salad. And it's funny because talking to a carnivore, it's almost insulting.
Yes, I feel your pain, my brother. It's lucky you didn't get teleported right from Shasta over to the vortex in Sedona, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Does happen. I mean,
does
people
happen.
claim, yeah, it
Yeah,
does happen. Yeah.
right. So,
And
cool.
and I will say, so I have a carnivore confession. So my friends, I was like, so what sides? Other carnivores can relate to this because everything comes with sides. So I'm always asking my friends, well, what do you want? Because I'm not going to eat it usually. And so we decided on onion rings, and I did have one. I dipped it in ketchup, and it was good. I didn't react, so that's cool. And I actually had one French fry that was made in duck fat. Actually, they didn't use oil; they
Nice.
made fries in duck fat, so that was cool.
Cool.
So my friend got duck fat fries. That's all she got though. Um, and yeah, she got duck
Fat
fat fries.
carbohydrate. That's like the magical elixir of youth, right?
Right. And yeah, duck fat fries. If you're gonna eat fries, I highly suggest them. It was pretty good. So only had one though. You know. So that's my carnivore confession. So what am I? 96.2% carnivore now.
Actually, no, not at all. You're not carnivore at all. You're fake.
Oh,
You
I have to
never,
put in my
you never were
card.
carnivore.
That's it. That's it. Hand it in.
And over. That's done.
Hand your card over. All right, Zumba, let's hear it. How'd you do it on vacay? On holiday. How'd you do it on holiday when you went up the coast not that long ago?
Much easier than what Justin did it by the sounds of things. Look, we stayed in a hotel, so we were about 2.5 hours north of Sydney, so New South Wales North Coast. And being on the coast there, you got a lot of fishing going on, a lot of fish shops. So yeah, big tourist destination. It was expensive, very expensive. Some dinners, but generally it was in the mornings be egg and bacon, maybe some smoked salmon. Then at night I would get 2 steaks because obviously one steak wasn't enough, but they're charging top dollar for steak, so wouldn't do it all the time. I'd go to the local supermarket and maybe get a little bit of barbecue chicken because that was quite cheap. Seafood, prawns, oysters. I'd go to a fish shop, get some grilled fish with no seasoning on it. It was quite easy, but very expensive. Obviously being a tourist spot, they'd like to charge premium. But,
Yeah, I've traveled on carnivore too, and the last time I made a bunch of jerky and took it with. So like I had Ziploc bag after Ziploc bag of jerky in my backpack. So like, you're sitting around the airport waiting for this or that, or you're on a plane or whatever, that's what I ate. And then, most places you get a burger, you just don't eat the bun or whatever. Some places they've got bunless options, and then
Yep.
I was in Wisconsin. Both Wisconsin and Iowa. Several times are in places that I would kind of describe more as a bar, but a lot of people go there to eat, and they had amazing hamburgers. I don't remember the name, but there was a place I went to with my cousins near, I guess it's Augusta, Wisconsin, and their burgers were just amazing. And then there's like a corner bar in this little town of Hickston. It's called Cal's Corner or something. It really is a bar, but it's more social there, like because it's a little town. Everybody knows each other, and they go there to play bingo and stuff like that. Like we associate bingo with like an old person's activity, like at the retirement home kind of thing, but basement of the church maybe. But they do it there. It's like, they have some pretty good sized cash prizes and stuff. And I ordered burgers there, and of course, fried cheese curds because it's Wisconsin. So, and the food was actually really good. So that was easy. And I know my girlfriend's dad, he told us to go a couple towns over to a restaurant, to wholesaler, and I bought a whole ribeye roast there for a really good price. Not the best price I've ever paid, but a good price. And then we just took it back to their house, and I ate ribeyes all the time, fed everybody else ribeyes. And then, of course, we found a Sam's Club a few towns over. So sometimes we go there and I buy my meat there. So, it can be done, it's not that bad. I'm looking forward to next time taking the pemmican with. How much pemmican would you say you ate on your trip?
I actually ate a lot less than I thought I was going to. I mostly brought it on hikes, and then I brought so much ribeye that, I tried really hard to eat that, and then my friends wanted to eat out, you know what I mean? So I mostly I probably ate like 3 little bars a day, which might have been like 3 ounces a day, and it was kind of like more like snack, or if I was out in the hills and, waiting on, my friends to get back with the car or something like that after a hike, then I'd snack on a couple, you know what I mean? So I ate a lot less than normally, and I was trying to I was still trying to keep my 16-hour fasting window, and like I said, eat the ribeyes. And the funny thing about the ribeyes, so there was a microwave in the room, and so I would just nuke a ribeye. But then I didn't bring silverware, and my friends just had plasticware, and I kept snapping forks and knives and stuff, and that was the biggest struggle with the ribeye. So if you go on vacation and if you're bringing meat, bring real utensils. You know what I mean? I would have just washed them out in the bathroom sink or something like that.
Yeah,
I just kept snapping stuff.
I have real steak knives at the office, real forks and stuff. In fact, I actually decided I like eating off of a cutting board, because there's something, I have this aversion to wanting to saw on a steak on a plate, So I think I'm just going to take a cutting board to work and just eat off of that, And I think from now on at home too, I think I'm going to design my own cutting board to eat off of. No more plates.
That's it.
Easier to clean too.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I was going to mention McDonald's was also an option. Was to go and get the burger patties and eat them.
Yeah, there's always fast food,
Yeah, 100%.
I forget. We probably did stop at different fast food places. Well, in the Midwest, and even over in Arizona, near Prescott Valley, there's a Culver's. So one of the things about Culver's is they have fried cheese curds, which are really hard to find on the West Coast. So
What are they exactly, Tom? For us dingoes down here,
a fried cheese curd.
Yeah.
It's cheese curd. Like when they make cheese, when they take the clumps of cheese out of the brine, they usually drain them and then press them into wheels, right? So this is that lump of fresh cheese before it's been pressed and dried.
Yep.
So what they do in the Midwest, people just eat the cheese curds, and they're really good, especially you take them out of fridge and let them get up to room temperature. And it could be just about any kind of cheese. Of course, they make a lot of cheese in Wisconsin, so it's really common there. So you get these, you eat these sort of unaged, they're a little bit moister maybe than like a standard piece of cheddar. Let's say if it's a cheddar curd, and when you bite into it, it kind of squeaks on your teeth, and they just have a really good cheese flavor. So a lot of times they batter them and fry them. So if you go to places like this chain Culver's, or you go to a bar, or most restaurants, I know even here in LA at Grill 'Em All. Have you ever been there, Justin? Grill 'Em All?
No, I
It's like a
haven't actually.
Metallica themed hamburger shop. It used
Oh,
to be
that's
a
cool.
food truck, and then they opened a restaurant over there in uh, not quite LA, but on the way to LA.
Mm.
I'll have to think of the name of the town. But anyways, they'll have cheese curds on their burgers, like in a duck confit or with cheese curds on a burger. I mean, it's crazy mixed up combination. $13 hamburgers. So
Wow.
yeah, so cheese curd is kind of a Midwest delicacy. We don't get too many. We have a hard time finding them here in California. So they will show up at places like Sprouts or even Winco Foods occasionally, but it's rare. So
And they're just fried in like vegetable oil, right? And that doesn't mess with you?
probably, uh, if I just ate them once, probably be all right. You know, I would probably, I probably probably didn't feel my best because of eating too many of them when we were on that trip, but they're so accessible. It's like, well, on vacation, you're gonna hurt yourself a little bit anyways, right? So, but yeah, now the vegetable oil, a little vegetable oil doesn't seem to bother me, although it depends on the food, because like I can't eat a donut of any kind, or I get horrible heartburn right away. So, but the cheese curd didn't bother me. No. Anyways, so
What I
go ahead.
what I've liked is that at a lot of places, and it just reminds me. So on the way back, so we drove through Sacramento just to see what Sacramento was about. We'll do a video on that a different time. But
Did you hang out with Brandon?
there was a restaurant there, and I actually ordered a burger, and I like it that a lot of restaurants now have the extra patty option. It's like wherever I see that, it's like supersize it to me. I'm like, yes, extra patty, $3. I'm doing it, And so she actually brought me this gigantic burger. I think it was like a half pound with both. I think after cooked, I think each patty was a quarter pound, and like it was pretty monstrous. And even she was like, "Yeah, that's a big burger you got there." Even the waitress was like, "I guess nobody ever orders the double patty." And of course it was lettuce wrapped and all that stuff. See, this restaurant, because it was fancier than the other restaurant, they were really creative. They took like a spring mix salad and used that to wrap my burger with. So I had a little bit of arugula, spring leaf, not just iceberg. So I don't know, just thought that's something.
Yeah, it's been tough. I don't eat out very often, but because of Father's Day, I went out with my dad, and they had just reopened the restaurant, and so and there wasn't very many people there, but it took probably a half an hour before they took our order, and probably an hour and 20 minutes before they delivered our order. And
Easy.
like I had ordered my burger rare, and it was overcooked. It was gray overcooked. But we'd waited so long, and it's like, it's Father's Day. There's no way I was going to wait another hour for a burger. So I just ate it, and it wasn't very good. And then I happened to be out at a well-known chain. I probably shouldn't say the name, but probably a national chain of places where people might go have dinner. and I ordered a quesadilla burger, and I ordered it with an extra patty. They charged me double the price of the whole dinner for an extra patty. And I didn't realize this at first because I've done it before, and it was like, I don't know, $3 or $4 or something for the extra patty. It was no big deal, right? And in fact, it's a same chain restaurant that I've been to with Justin. So
Yeah, I know
so
exactly what you're
Justin,
talking about.
yeah. So when the first burger comes, they asked me I want to cook, and I said as rare as possible. And she says, okay, it's going to be pink in the middle. I'm like, I hope it's pink and bloody. And so it comes, and it's just cooked like solid gray, just dry and gray. And it's like I ate like maybe a quarter of it, and I was like, God, this is really dry. And I'm trying to look at it because the light's not that good. And I'm like, this is way overcooked. So I sent it back, and then they brought me another one, same thing. It might have been even more cooked, dry and gray. And the manager comes, she's like, oh man, she's like, look, I'm sorry, I'm shorthanded in the back. Everybody has been laid off for 2 or 3 months. They're behind. I don't have enough people. They just, I'm sorry about this. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to handle this myself and make sure it gets done right. And she's like, well, go ahead and eat all you can of this. So I ate a quarter of the first two patties, which were substantial. They might have been like half pounders or something. I don't know. They were probably a third, actually. It's probably what they were, a third pounder or something. Then I ate all of the second pair that were overcooked. And overcooked meat just seems to digest really slow. And then she brought brought it, and it was right. She's like, I checked the temperature myself. It tested at 153 degrees in the center. And I cut that open. It was juicy and pink in the middle. There was fat oozing out of it. I was like, yeah, because of the fat had just been cooked the hell out of the previous two, and they were just dry and nasty. I ate them, but they were dry and nasty. And then I ate this one, and I was in heaven. And then I realized I was so stuffed. It was the most stuffed I'd ever been on a carnivore. And I was like, oh, I was going to have to walk this one off because it's going to take a while to work through all that dried out meat. But in the end, they took it all off my bill. I didn't pay anything. So I didn't pay anything for my meal. So
if you go to a restaurant and you order a steak and you don't get it, like that first restaurant you went to for Father's Day.
Yeah.
Are you still expected to tip?
Well, I mean, it depends on your theory because you have your cooks, you're in the restaurant business, but I mean, you have the cooks, then you have the waitress, and it's like, well, did she not write it down? Did she not tell them? I'm usually like, my thing is with waitresses or the waiter, it's like, if you tell them and they're indignant about it, or if they're like, hey, I told the cook, let me like tell the cook again or something, which could be a lie, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I've given up on getting my steaks right going out. If I want a steak right, I have to make it myself at home. It's kind of what I expected. So on the trip, I actually got a sirloin steak at a breakfast place in Shasta. And I ordered it medium rare or like rare, medium rare, yeah. And it came back medium. And like usually that's the best that I can ever get when ordering medium rare is medium since being carnivore, So I've just given up on having a medium rare steak at a restaurant. It just never happens.
Order rare. That way they cook it
medium rare is very rare.
Yeah.
So what about you, Joe? If the meat doesn't come out right, you don't tip or what?
No, when it's tipping is not compulsory here. Well, it's, I guess not there, but it's very rare that you tip anyone. So, I mean, here the wait staff, they get paid quite well, so
okay.
They're not on a real minimum wage. So yeah, I mean, you generally you'll tip if it's good, and if it's no good, it's not like I remember going to a few places over there in the States, and you'd get your bill, and it would be all itemized, and down the bottom would say tip, and that was what the tip. It's what they expected the tip to be. That was included in the total of the bill. It does not happen here.
Yeah, so a lot of the, especially more expensive restaurants, they add on a tip or gratuity or whatever. at the end. Your average restaurant, they like if they give you a place to write in a tip if you wish to tip, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to tip. I mean, I grew up tipping. It's kind of it
It's
might be sort of
cultural.
cultural. Yeah, it
Yeah.
depends. Some people grow up, but they generally don't tip unless things are really exceptional, or they
Mm.
just don't tip or whatever.
Or if you've had family in the restaurant business, or if you've worked in the restaurant yourself, you know what they have to put up with. And so you're like, yeah, because my brother's worked restaurants all his life. And so he would come and complain about this. And, you get different kinds of clientele, and depending on the shift, but like, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but if I see like a big party sitting next to my party, I kind of factor that in, and I'm like, well, I took like 8 minutes of her time. She's been dealing with that big party. I mean, if nothing else, they're probably going to give her 20, $30, so I can probably give her like less than what it would normally. And if she's cute, a cute, fluttery eyes. If you've got personality, I'm a sucker for the goods. I'll admit it.
You
Speaking
give
of
them a tip and your phone number.
Yeah. So speaking of tipping, I guess we're going like way off, but maybe not. So at this restaurant, the really fancy one, service was bad, but food was great and her attitude was great. So like my buddy's saying, because he's diabetic, he doesn't order soda anymore. So he tips on based on how they keep his water glass full. And at this point, or one point during our lunch, instead of coming over and filling his glass with water, she gave him an iced tea. And so we're like, what does that count for? You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. So he was like, I'm not going to tip her at all. And I was like, dude, she's cute. She's friendly. She's flirty. And like, I was like, but dude, like, I'm throwing my stuff in. You can tip her whatever you want. If you don't want to tip her, that's fine. And like, I don't know, he begrudgingly gave her a little bit of money or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on, that's just like what tipping is like here. It's kind of cultural. You feel like you should, but I think that keeping your water glass full, if they come around every 10 minutes or so, that's usually like warrants a tip. If they check on you, if the food's right. Like it's a whole thing here in America, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I will say when we get the American tourists here that in the restaurant to work, the service is always so much better than when you get the Europeans, because I mean you work for your tips. To the customer. I mean, whereas the Europeans, they don't care as long as they look good. They're not really fussed.
Yeah, well, when you said we should come to Australia now because of the exchange rate and we could have a good time on not much money, I didn't realize we don't even have to tip there either. So that means our dollars go farther.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah, I was out to dinner with my buddy Joel probably like 6 months ago for his birthday, and we went to this steak restaurant down in Whittier, and they really did have great steaks, but I couldn't believe how expensive they were, because I want to say like one of those big tomahawk ribeyes was like $280 just for the steak. Yeah, and then we got the baby ribeye. It's like $78 or $80. I couldn't believe it. And that's a la carte. That's like there's no sides or anything. And I was cool with it. But he ordered like some cheese toast and dessert and stuff. It was his birthday and stuff like that. So but I couldn't believe how expensive it was. And this is not like a fancy restaurant with candlelight and linen tablecloths or anything like this. This is a freaking steakhouse with a bar, right? A big bar. It's dark in there. It's kind of rustic. Everybody sits up on real high sort of tables and stuff like that. It's like I'm with Justin. When I ordered my steak rare, first of all, my friend almost fell off his chair. He's like, "Rare? You're gonna eat a rare steak?" And I'm like, yeah. And the waitress is like, "Well, that's unusual." And I was like, it's unusual for people to order a rare steak in a steakhouse. And she's like, yeah. I couldn't believe it. I would think it's a steakhouse. People come in there for steak. They're steak eaters. If anywhere you're going to hear people request a rare steak, it's there. And according to her, it was rare. And according to my friend Joel, I'm very unusual for liking rare steak. But I think I know a lot of people that like rare steak, at least in my mind. Well, I mean, hell, we eat raw steak all the time. So what's rare, you know?
Right, which brings me to a funny story. So the one time that they wanted to have like a picnic or a little picnic dinner out after a hike, and so my buddy has his little gas or propane like little camp stove, and with like 2 burners on it. And since I knew we were going to do that, we went to the little market first. We all grabbed stuff. I grabbed just like I think it was like beef sirloin tips or something like that they had at the organic market, whatever. I grabbed those, and it was sitting in the cooler, while we were on the hike and everything. And we go to cook, and they forgot to bring a lighter to light the little stove. And like, they're all sweating like, oh man, because they were going to have quesadillas, and they had to cook like all this stuff with vegetables, do up their stuff. And I was like, well, I don't care. I mean, I can just eat mine rare or raw. And they were like, no, you can't do that. You're going to get so sick. Like, no, we'll figure this out. And they were just like, as if I said like I was going to like kill a baby and eat it raw. They were just so dead set against me eating it raw. And it's like, I've done it before. I'm most likely going to be okay. It's like, yeah, I mean, it was organic, grass-fed, hippy-dippy steak. You know what I mean? It was as clean as it could be. It was already in strips or tips. So like I wouldn't even have to like use a utensil or anything. Right. Like I literally just have to wash my hands, sanitize my hands, open it and dig in. And like, where are the germs? Where's the disease or bacteria coming from? As long as I don't like drop it or anything. But anyway, my buddy had fire starter, so lit up the grill. So I ended up cooking it and throwing like a bunch of cheese on it, and I was happy as a clam. But yeah, just again, people's reaction with raw, rare, they just like
they freak out,
blows their mind. Yeah.
My boss is like that. If he sees me eating a steak rare, he can't watch it. He can't watch me. He's got to face the other. He's got to. He'll say to me, Joe, if you cook my steak and I see any blood on the plate, I'll pass out. I was like, oh, far out. Yeah, true story. Big hello to Austin. You're the best. But it's pretty funny. So when he sees my steak that's rare, sometimes even blue, he sort of looks at it and like he sort of freaks him out a little bit.
Well, I got on the subject of raw steak with my dad and his wife. Mostly his wife engages in the conversation. My dad doesn't say much, but I was like, well, it's like people eat raw fish every day, they eat sushi or whatever. And she's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then she started talking about California roll. I'm like, well, there's raw fish in that too. It's usually, they put raw tuna or something in there too. And she's like, yeah, but it's just a little bit with a lot of rice and other stuff. And I'm just like, okay, so what's the difference? I mean, like you were saying, telling us, Joe, a lot of times people get food poisoning because that warm, moist rice up against the fish for a long time just breeds bacteria, right?
Yeah, well, it's the number one cause of food poisoning here.
Yeah, and you see that stuff everywhere. I mean, I can't believe how many supermarkets have those little refrigerated section with sushi in them, and it's like you don't know that stuff, how long it's been there or where it came from.
7-Eleven sushi, that's sushi. Yeah, the Russian roulette sushi right there.
Yeah. Seriously.
But I think the issue is like if you have a piece of raw fish when you put on a plate, it's not bleeding everywhere. Okay. Whereas if you put a steak on the plate, people freak out because they see all the blood everywhere, or it just sort of does their head in a little bit.
So I have a funny story.
I think people are crazy if they want to eat a steak that doesn't bleed a little.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's well done, it's crazy.
Yeah, I have a funny little story. So when I was like 11, my dad was friends with this trucking company and his buddies that owned it. And they invited us over to their house one time, the owner of the trucking company, and they were having steak. And my dad was a weirdo in that he liked everything well done. He liked his burgers well done, his steak well done. I don't know where he got that from. I think he got sick like one time when he was younger. And so just freaked him out for the rest of his life. And they bring out this steak, and I think it was rare. It was the biggest steak I'd ever seen in my life, especially at that time. And my dad's like, "You're gonna eat that with them? It's still mooing." That was that was my dad's response, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so I was fine with it though. I had ketchup with it at the time because I was a heathen. But yeah, if I could do it all over again, I still would.
Yeah, I know we make the joke about, bring it to the table as soon as it stops mooing, or whatever. Or just knock the horns and tail off, bring it hooves up, It's the way
Well, I
to
mean, like Emily, I'm always saying that she can just run out into a farm and just bite right in.
That's right. That's right. So, any other tips for people traveling? Or I know we keep mentioning pemmican, and I feel like I need to kind of qualify that pemmican is really sort of considered like a traveling food. If you read Foul of the Land, it really talks about it's like an emergency food. It's like they really wanted to take for aerial transport because, and when the Air Force was first getting going, it was part of the Army, and they had to have 9 or 10 days worth of food on the plane for everybody on the plane every time they took off. So getting a really lightweight, compact, super nutritionally dense survival food was very important. And they knew that pemmican was a superior survival food, both from like the mountain men crossing the continental United States from the east to the west. They ate pemmican. The Plains Indians made pemmican. The polar explorers took pemmican. On and on and on. It was like this time tested. This is the food you want to take when you have to carry it yourself, or you have limited space, or obviously in the terms of aircraft, they're limited by how much space and weight they could carry. And polar explorers, they got to take food a lot of time. And the thing about pemmican is you don't really have to prepare it, right? You could just eat it the way it is, and it lasts for decades, even in warm climates. So we talk about pemmican. Pemmican really isn't necessarily going to be everybody's first choice for an everyday meal, but that's its role. And that's why we brought it up again today, right? Because it's a good traveling food.
I think another option could be, you get some bacon and you put it in the air fryer, make it nice and crispy. You can have a whole bag of bacon, and you can just eat it whenever you're hungry.
Yeah, you could. I buy it every once in a while. They sell pre-cooked bacon. It's I think it's a Hormel product. It's Hormel, and it's like their Blackwood series or something like that. And it comes they even had a thick cut recently. And when you see that stuff brought into like Sam's Club, it's sitting on a pallet out on the floor, like not even refrigerated for long periods of time. So it's pretty durable apparently. So I've never had any that went bad on me. So
Yeah, so just a quick little anecdote for myself and the pemmican. I must have taken it out of the freezer or fridge like 5 or 6 different times, and it's still good. Like, we're talking going out, being out with it just in a backpack in the sun for hours. It's still being good. Going back to the hotel room, putting it in the freezer or freezer or fridge.
okay.
And then taking it back out the next day on another hike. So many elevation, temperature, all these changes, and it's still good, and it's still in my fridge right now, and I'm still munching on it from day to day, and still good. So yeah, no, it is durable. It truly does last.
Carnivore durable.
Yeah,
Carnivore
and the
durable.
great thing about it, if you eat jerky, it's pretty lean typically. And I can eat a lot of jerky. Uh, but the nice thing about the pemmican is it's got plenty of fat. So particularly people who are having to work hard or do a lot of hiking or something, that extra fat really keeps you going. You said you almost felt a little energized by it, right, Justin?
Yeah, so I would be because it's a long hike. I haven't really exercised. It's hot, you know, and I'd eat a couple of things of pemmican, and I felt like I could go another 10 miles, after like a little bar or two. And then
Mm.
so yesterday, I got up and I had sessions, but then my friend wanted to hit the gym, and I didn't really. And then right after the gym, we were gonna go do Korean barbecue, and I hadn't eaten since like 8 o'clock the night before. I was actually starting to get hungry, and I was actually going to eat right before he texted me that he was going to grab me to go to the gym. And so I was like, well, I'll just grab pemmican. So I grabbed pemmican, just ate one little square, and I felt totally fine throughout my entire workout. And we didn't eat until 2, and I felt like I could have gone longer without eating. And then because we did Korean barbecue, it's more like buffet style, so you eat as much as you want. So I pigged out. And then at dinner, I wasn't really hungry, so I had just another bar of pemmican, and then I didn't eat until like 12 today. So I like it as just like supplemental meal. Even just one little bar keeps you full. I think it is all the fat, just that satiety, and then no loss of energy, which is awesome.
Yeah, and what'd
It'd
you
be
think about eating the pemmican that had, like dehydrated kidney in it? What'd you think about it flavor wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think it still tastes great. I mean, I've had that several times with you, so I think it tastes good to me. We it's all bagged up, so I couldn't. I remember this is a little bit of inside baseball, but when I went to Tom's house to get the pemmican, he had like 3 different batches, and we kind of mixed them all together in a bag. So I couldn't really tell the taste of one to the other. I mean, one seemed to have a little more muscle meat or something because I'd get like chunks, than compared to the other. But that's the only real difference I noticed. I know one didn't have salt supposedly, but with it all mixed together in one bag, I mean, I'm assuming I got a mix of fat, kidney, liver, and muscle meat. So all good.
What were you saying, Joe?
I was just Justin gave me a bit of an idea. I mean, if it's stable, in hot conditions, it'd be a good little thing to keep in your back pocket when especially people that do endurance sports, we running or cycling. You've got that little bit you cut up in small little pieces and keep it in your back pocket.
Yeah,
Just to
we'll have to
fuel
send you
you.
some.
It's a
And
good idea.
take it on a ride with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Try it
Yeah.
out.
Test it out.
The only thing is that your hands do get greasy, sticky from the fat, and you do get kind of thirsty, because the fat, kind of absorbs all the moisture in your mouth. So
Mm.
that's the only thing is like if you take a quick swig of water and down a couple bites of pemmican, you're good to go.
Mm. That'd be good. Good to try it out. Look forward to getting it from you guys, from Thomas.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to ship you some. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why don't you get stuck in customs? What is this? What is the
Yeah.
substance?
It's C4. Are we trying to bring a bomb into the
Yeah.
country?
Now our video is going to get reevaluated several times because you said C4 a bomb and I just repeated it. So
We're in trouble.
we're in trouble. We're in trouble. The algorithms are going to zero in on us. So you plowed through that jerky I sent, right? Just
Oh yeah, that was easy. I actually forgot about it, and it sat in the back of the cab of the Forerunner the entire trip. I literally forgot about it and then I just grabbed it up and just ate it on the way back down. Yeah,
that's
it
interesting
was
because
fine.
jerky's made out of raw beef that's just dried out, and but at the same time, people think about eating a fresh piece of raw steak. No way. But give me something that you've taken all the moisture out of, and it's raw. Who knows how old it is? I'll eat that, no problem.
Well, I guess it's the color of it. It looks different to raw meat, and people look at it and they go, "Oh yeah, no, it's cooked," But it's
I
not.
think
It's
they
just been
associate
dehydrated.
cooked with no germs.
Yeah.
The idea anyway.
Yeah, by the way, don't try and make jerky out of cooked meat because it usually comes out horrible. Horrible.
Black leather.
Inedible. Be lucky if your dog eats it. All right, guys. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for watching, and leave us your comments. Let us know what you eat when you travel. Maybe you got a tip that'll help somebody out there. And like and subscribe, pass the links on from these videos. People appreciate it. Any support we get really helps. A lot of viewership is down across all the independent channels, especially in the carnivore community. So if you subscribe, we really appreciate it. If you pass a video on, we really appreciate it. If you like the video, we really appreciate it, and leave us some comments. So again, I want to thank everybody out there for watching. I want everybody out there to eat a little more meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
Don't fall down the carb hole.